Not your average tabletop. Woohoo!
Welcome to Not Trevor's Tabletop. I'm Zach,
And I'm Pepper.
and today we are reacting to the latest Garphill Announcements live stream, which I feel like we've had quite a few of these that we've reacted to. This might be like the fifth, maybe
It's
even more than that.
it's getting up there. It's getting up there. It's going to be one of our greatest traditions on this channel pretty soon.
It really is. But yeah, if as everyone knows that watched our top 70 games of all time, I'm the biggest Garphill fan ever. I was definitely not called out at all about being a fake fan. So whenever Garfield announces anything or just talks about their future plans, I get pretty excited. It's one of those that I kind of would say I keep up with a decent amount. So yeah, I always like to react to kind of what they've got to talk about, what they're announcing over
Yeah.
there in New Zealand, I believe, is where
Yes.
they're located.
So he is the fanboy perspective, and I'm more on the outside. I've gotten enjoyment from, I think, every Garfield game that I've played, but none of them ended up in my top 70. I would say a couple of them could if I had some more recent plays of them, but definitely not a big fan. So, but it's always interesting to talk about their new games.
That's true. That is true. But yeah, in this live stream, it was Shem and Sam. So if you don't know who those are, I think
Yeah.
it kind of started with just Shem. Shem Phillips, Garphill Games did, and then they added Sam on there. I think during the West Kingdom games, I don't know if he was the lead designer on like Architects or something along those lines. I don't know the full history. But yeah, it's just these two talking about what's going on
It's
here.
like we're talking about these two talking.
Yes, and they look very interested in what we've got to say. Uh,
Yes. Now, if we could just get them talking about us, talking about them, talking about things.
exactly. But yeah, the first thing they mentioned was that they had started this Lens and Veil podcast, which you can find on their YouTube channel. I guess I don't know. That's how I have listened to a couple of the first ones they have on there. That's how I've listened to it. I'm not sure. I can't remember. Did they say if it was available um,
I do
for
not.
streaming
Um,
anywhere else? It
as
might be
long
because I know on YouTube it's just like showing that it's those three, and then it's just kind of the audio. So,
oh, yeah.
well, these two, along with Zach, who is their person I think they just added on,
Mhm.
who's kind of, I believe it's kind of more focused on like the social media and some of that kind
Mhm.
of things for Garfield Games, which I think is what led them to start this, I believe, along with a newsletter as well, is something they've started doing to, and obviously I subscribed to that one. Being the biggest fan out there, I had to. Uh, and yeah, going back to the podcast, of the couple episodes I've listened to, it's pretty interesting. They usually start with a unique question of would you rather this or that, and then just kind of, I don't know, talk about that just ever so slightly, and kind of give all three of their thoughts on that. It's kind of an interesting thing to get to know them a little bit more. See, just I don't know, listening to people talk about something maybe outside of board games that are
Yeah.
you typically just know from board games, and then they'll focus on kind of one game and talk about the things in the game and what they say, dig deeper into the
Dig
design.
deeper. Yes. So just from, I guess, designer's perspective, I imagine that that has to be pretty interesting to see their different approaches. And I'm assuming like what they think. I guess do they dive in? You've listened. I have not listened to any of it. Do they dive into like kind of what they think the process was for this game and I guess maybe other routes that it could have gone.
I think they kind of talk about certain things that um, certain parts of it that they maybe found interesting or how they would have done something. I think the most recent one I listened to was Scarbray, which is actually one that they've designed is not available yet, and They brought up some of the things like, oh, this was like an issue we found out during it, and through like working through that issue, we came up with like something new that like really worked for it and stuff. So, um, kind of giving those insights of like sometimes like trying to solve a problem helps you almost create something better than than you already had. So yeah,
Yeah.
they kind of go into those little bit of things of what they if they think it really works, if they think it's kind of
Yeah.
something. What I think one time Shem too said just uh, he didn't know about replayability, but then he asked himself, "Do I have fun playing it?"
Yeah.
Which I guess is another way to look at it. So some games that'll have endless replayability. If you don't have any fun playing them, what does it matter how much replayability they
Yeah.
have? Whereas, game like King Domino for us, if you just love playing it, yeah, it's probably going to be pretty similar from game to game, but it's also if you get an enjoyment from it.
Yeah. Bold prediction, or not prediction, bold take, bold statement, hot take, some might say. Replayability, one of the most overrated things in board games.
Oh boy.
I'm saying it. If it's fun, it's fun. I don't care.
Let us know if we have to do a table talk episode on that one in the
Yes.
comments below. But yeah, then the newsletter. I think one of the big things with that is they just kind of talk about a few things, maybe kind of what's going on, and then they will usually have a discount on one of their games or some product on their web store. So it's a way to get things at a little bit of a discount if you want. Um, Most of their games are relatively available, just in general, I think. So don't know after shipping and stuff if you get your games from somewhere else if it's going to be that big of a thing. But if you want to support them directly, it's a good way to do that if you don't have the product already.
Yeah. And I believe they went on to a game here, and that was, let's get it. What is that called? Shadow Moon Syndicates.
Could Sam look more excited about this game?
They are thrilled. Yeah, when I first saw this, so this is from Arcus Games, I believe. So another company that Shem is involved with and working with, and we
Like
talked.
another New Zealand one.
Yes, yes. I think we talked about a game they released. I forget the name of it, the one with the storm and the
Storm
desert.
Raider? Is it Storm Raiders?
Storm Raiders, yes. So they have released a couple games previously that we've talked about, and I showed a little interest in that one. We have not gotten that one yet. But when I saw this one and all the pops of color, this had me interested from like a I mean, obviously this isn't Garphill, but Garphill adjacent to the outside person in myself, and this had me pretty interested. Plus, these looked like cool stacking tokens, similar to Ethnos, so it made me think of that. And then it mentioned it's a bit of an area control type of thing, so I'm like, that really seems like Ethnos. And then they said there's these different categories of cards that have different kind of styles and effects to them, and I'm like, wow, this really, really sounds like Ethnos, and I'm loving it. And it sounded like a pretty cool game with kind of how the cards work and how you want to chain them together and can pick and choose kind of the styles that you want in each game.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess I'm not I feel like both of this one and Storm Raiders, if that's what it was called, I guess the artwork and stuff didn't draw me in on either of these quite as much. I don't know what it is about it. Just not the most interesting to me, but I do like the look of the board and actually, I don't know. it's,
Yeah, I
it's
don't.
pretty brown, but I do like the tokens.
Yeah, I like
Uh,
the tokens. So he's down to the tokens. He likes the tokens.
let's get those tokens for Ethnos,
Yeah,
which is already the best part.
yeah,
Uh, but no, the game itself, I mean, the way the game's played sounded interesting because, yes, like you said, they even mention it that it is, it reminds them a lot of Ethnos as well. And that's a game that we all really love. So, yeah, I'm thinking this one could be a big hit. Um, yeah, I'm very interested in this one. As they talked about it more and more, I think I'm more interested in this one than probably the Storm Raiders one.
Oh, yeah.
Uh, just because of the comparisons. Whereas Storm Raiders, I don't know um, that one was compared as much, and it was. I think it was very much like a pick up and deliver game. Not that I don't like that, but I just didn't know if,
It
yeah,
doesn't really have a precedent. Like we don't have that many of those, so it's not something we've really grown to like. It could be something in the future, but yeah, not quite.
right.
But yeah, this is actually designed by I forget the name, but it's you would
3 minute
know.
board game.
Yeah, it's 3 minute board games. I forget the actual his actual name.
Oh yeah, I don't remember
You
either.
know him as 3 minute board games if you've seen that explaining games in 3 minutes or less or four, somewhere around there. They actually gave it an extra minute for his own game. I went and I watched that video on his channel, and it's a decent breakdown of the game. And yeah, I'm pretty excited for it. Like you, I don't know if I'm a huge fan of the artwork on the cards, like for the characters and that style. It's a unique style, but I don't think I'm a big fan of it. But from like an outer view, like I look at kind of the cards and that pop of yellow on there and kind of the layout, that draws me in. But yeah, looking a little closer, maybe not a huge fan of the art, but still gonna hoping to hear good things about it, good reviews, and add this one to the collection.
Mm. Yes, and in the chat, I don't think you had it open, but if you wanted to, it is currently live on crowdfunding. So
Oh,
it is a project that you can go check out if you're watching this kind of early on from when we drop
is
it.
it in the description of this video or
It
just
might
on the
be.
chat? Let's see. Shadow Moon, a Kickstarter. That is this, I believe. So yeah,
Got
14
2
days.
weeks to go.
Yeah, so we will have to maybe we'll do an impromptu thing here, just a little slight take my money. But yeah, it's looking good.
No pledge manager. Which, yeah, I think so. If you know Garphill Games, or have ever backed anything from Garphill Games, they do not typically have a pledge manager in any of their projects. So it isn't surprising to me that this says no pledge manager. So this is one you'd have to, if you wanted to get it during the campaign, you'd have to pledge during it, it sounds like. Uh, but yeah, it looks about how I expected. I think this is one that I'll have to look into just a little bit more, watch some actual videos on it, and see if it actually sounds like something that could overtake Ethnos, or if it sounds so similar to Ethnos that it couldn't possibly overtake it.
Yeah, that could be. We might own about 15 versions of Ethnos here soon.
Since they just dropped another edition of Ethnos, I think Simon did.
Yeah.
So, and then they've got Archaeus Society. So it's going to be about 4 or 5 options for an Ethnos experience.
Yeah, so it looks like a $47 for that base, 72 with an expansion, 122 with a bunch of additional add-ons. And yeah, what was this in delivery for December of 2025? So yeah,
A little over a year out.
yeah, quite interested in that. I would say I'm more interested in this than Storm Raiders than I was for that. So yeah.
By J. Carmichael. Design, there it
Hey,
is, right there.
yes.
That's his screen name. His real name is 3 Minute Board Game. uh, but yeah, I that one sounded interesting to me. Yeah, it sounded like you could get expansion deluxe content like you saw on there. Let's see, you could. They say you can enjoy it even so. Area control games. I know that some people, really don't like that. It sounded like even if you tend to not like that, don't like confrontation in games. Sounded like this one. They made it sound like it wasn't that heavy in confrontation. I think there
Oh,
were some cards like if you have played Ethnos, there's kind of factions that do different things. I think there's factions in this one that you can kind of just choose to not use that may be a little more confrontational than others. So,
oh, yep. Yeah, and yeah. I think that's the key to this, and one of the things that makes it so interesting is that you can just really change how you want to play it if you're feeling really aggressive, which Mac will probably want to sit out those games. But if you and I want to just really butt heads, we can throw in the most devastating aggressive factions that we want and go at it.
Yes. But sorry, I just had to add that in there,
Yeah.
just in case, because
Ooh.
there is that area control element, and they made it sound like at least that it's not too crazy. And if it is anything like Ethnos, I would not say that that is too crazy.
Mhm.
Like there's a that control element, but
Yeah, I
I
do
wouldn't
not.
say I feel like, oh my gosh, I'm being attacked.
Yeah, I do not like area control games just because nothing ever feels secure. It always is like it's gonna be taken away. He's gonna come in here. He's gonna kick me out. I do not feel that in Ethnos. I love that aspect of Ethnos. So
Mhm.
yes. So then on to, I guess then is it on to the next game?
Yes, it is, I believe. So this is a game coming out from them in their Ancient series, Syria Second Edition. Which, yeah, I didn't. At first, I didn't realize it said Second Edition on there, and then I saw it afterwards, and I was like, because I think I just saw a picture of the cover, and I'm like, oh, that looks pretty cool. And yeah, I didn't even see the second edition. Then when I went and watched or listened to them, and I'm like, oh, it's the second edition of a game. So this game already is out there. I've never heard of it before, but apparently it's on Board Game Arena. So I think Pepper and I are gonna have to try that. So if you want to see how that's done, we could do a try before you buy episode or a playthrough on Board Game Arena. Let us know in the comments below if you'd like to see that. But otherwise, we'll probably either way we'll probably check it out. I would think, or I'll be pushing Pepper uh, to try it out just to see. I don't know. It may not play best at two. It sounds like they've maybe sounds like they kind of have made some changes to this one, some developmental changes to uh, just find any of the weak points in the original. It sounded like to me. So there were several things they changed in the game that maybe made it. Sounds like I hope it made it better. I hope they not make changes and make a game worse. Uh, we're gonna reprint your game. We're gonna bring a second edition of your game, but we're gonna make it much worse. I hope that's not what they chose to do. So I'm assuming it will be even better. But yeah, I think the components in this one look pretty great, and for being kind of that deserty board feel, I do like the colors. I do like the artwork on this one, and I think this is artwork from Shem's brother Sam. Uh,
Yeah.
and yeah, I think he's kind of just gotten. I feel like he's gotten better and better as he's kind of created more and more of these. I guess, what do you think? Do you like the art on this one? Do you prefer like Hadrian's Wall and stuff, or not
I
Hadrian's
guess
Wall? Raiders of
Raiders
Scythia.
of Scythia. I mean, I fell in love with his artwork from Raiders of Scythia, and I don't have as much experience with the following ones, and I don't feel like I've seen. It might seem a little different, but yeah, kind of gives me a little more feeling like he's going a little towards. He's obviously nowhere near like the Miko style of artwork, but I feel like there's just something maybe a little more cartoonish now, or
Hmm.
smoother maybe, in more recent ones, possibly. But I could just be making this up off the top of my head, and that's just some random feeling that I'm getting, and it makes no sense. But I haven't really noticed any up or down. I just have loved his artwork ever since the first time I laid eyes on it.
Even Circadian's First Light, the original.
I
I think
guess
that
not
was
that.
his.
Not that one. I don't really like
I
that
think that was his. I could
theme.
be
I think
just
the
talking.
theming of that one and kind of the alien aspect, not as big a fan of it, but some of the characters I think looked really cool. The
Hmm.
more human looking characters.
That's true. The aliens look a little scary.
Yes, giving me nightmares. But I love this board. This board looks fantastic. You had sent me this board, and I was like, it looks like Ankh or something like that, but even more pop of color in it. And I really like this. This is a top 10 kind of deserty board in a board game. I will go and make that statement right here.
Yeah, it's definitely pretty solid, and yeah, the pieces, nice wooden pieces. I'm pretty excited about stacking things up. Usually, those I feel like any games that are kind of like that, it kind of makes me think of like a Cusco or whatever,
Oh, yeah.
and or Tikal. Those are the two that we played. It makes me kind of think of those, so it's making me think like, oh boy, yeah, this is going to be kind of an old school feel. And from the sounds of what they're saying, I mean, because it's a redesign. I think this was originally from like 15 years ago, so it is an older game. And they made it sound like it does have that old school Euro-y feel of kind of a easy to get through rule set, but like a lot of good, nice decisions and a lot of interaction. So I'm worried about that with Michaela. I know she doesn't love interaction in Euro games, and I know some people out there like love interaction in board games. So hopefully this one will be for them. Because I feel like Garphill Games kind of has a reputation for having a lot of games that don't have a ton of interaction in them. They've recently kind of added some of those in the uh, South Tigris series, where you're claiming some of the things and then getting benefits of people like take your cards or do these things. There's a little bit there. I wouldn't say that's like, I don't know. Doesn't feel like significant,
Yeah.
but it is a little bit of a point of like thinking, do I do that or do I do this? Because if I do that, I give them a little benefit. And I don't want to do that if I can. So it does make it interesting, but I would still say I don't feel like, oh my gosh, it really feels like we're throwing punches back and forth. But
Yeah.
this one might have that. I don't know. We'll
Yeah,
see.
it might, and I will say this has me maybe a little more interested because it is a reprint of an older game that is not theirs, correct?
Right.
In any way, that I know of, and
Well, they
they
made some
added to it.
changes,
They added to
but
it, but
originally I don't. It wasn't them.
for me, that feels reassuring that this is going to go to the next level of complication that these kind of North Sea to West Kingdom to then now the, what is it, South Tigris. And they've just gotten more and more complicated. And this one, just because it's a reprint and got that old classic Euro feel that they're saying it has, and that has me excited that it's calmed down a little bit, reined it in. Something that I can really get behind. But then you throw in the player interaction, that kind of is a little bit of a curveball and a question mark. So we'll see. I hope it's good, and yeah, we'll have to play it and give our thoughts on it and kind of decide
Yeah,
whether or not we're going to be going for this.
yeah, and I couldn't really tell how significant the changes will be, but I am thinking that one potential thing might be that they've maybe, I don't know,
They've added
reinvested in
about,
the two player modes and stuff and the
yeah.
like solo players, because it feels like old school. Some of those really, I don't know, interactive old school Euro games. I feel like they tend to play best at like the three, four, possibly even
Yeah.
five player count. So we'll see how the original, once we get the chance to play it, if it really plays well at two or not.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm excited about this one. I am obviously excited about anything that they release, but it'll be interesting to see kind of how, I don't know, how they go and take a an edition of a game and bring it up to a new one.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm guessing they've added about 15 tracks and 20 different uses to each card, as they are known to do.
And it sounded like it was going to be possibly a quarter two Kickstarter.
Yes. Yes.
And I think someone had asked, "Are you going to do any reprints in the future?" And they said maybe. So I'm sure that there will be. They're already looking, I'm sure. Uh, let's see, what do I got? What else do I have written in here?
What is
Uh,
good?
I guess we can go to the reprints piece.
Speaking of reprints, all of this stuff, my goodness.
It's a
It
lot of stuff.
it is a lot of stuff. There's a lot of no like reprinting every single game we've made. None of that. So they are pretty
Right.
available, but
Yeah.
that'd just
That's
be
what I
way too
thought it was at
massive.
first.
It'd be way too big to handle because they're up to like 12 games here, and that's 12 plus. I mean, you have the Ancient series, and that really boosts it up now quite a bit. So
Right.
quite a few, but this is kind of, I guess, yeah, you probably have the exact list of everything that they are releasing, so hit us with it.
Yes. So yeah, at first I thought it was everything, and I was like, oh boy, how are they going to do that? Why are they going to do that? But it is not. Yes, if you are wanting to buy their games, don't wait for this to do it. Just go out and try to find them. I think one of the first things they said was the Raiders of the North Sea solo version. Sounded like they said it was originally in a digital app, so that it was like just freely
Oh,
available for anyone. So I'm assuming it is freely available out there somewhere,
hmm.
somehow.
I wonder if
But
that's on the just yeah the app version. It's just built in there because I did have that downloaded at one time. So
oh,
good
yeah,
to
I guess I
know.
don't know if they meant that it was in the app or if they had it, if he meant more of like it's out there to like print off yourself. I guess I don't know what the solo mode is or like if it's extra pieces. I'm not 100% sure if it's just a rule set. Uh, but that will now be available. I think it sounded like a lot of people had asked for it. So they did that. The Raiders of the North Sea playmat. It sounded like they weren't sure if Renegade Games was printing it anymore, so and it hadn't been printed by them in a while, so a lot of people had asked for that as well. And then the Rune Saga, especially with the recent upgrade of Shipwrights of the North Sea Redux, a lot of people had been asking for the Rune Saga to kind of have that option to kind of combine all three of the first three games in the North Sea set. And I don't know that that was as readily available, but I think it sounded like the second printing that they had took like 4 years to sell out on, so they figured it probably wasn't worth reprinting that until there was a lot of interest. So I think mainly, probably because of that Redux version of Shipwrights is the big reason they're going to be
Mhm.
reprinting that. Um, and then it sounded like they had created a Paladins suspicion deck for each player. So in Paladins, I believe you usually take from kind of this joint deck, and it's either 0, 1, or 2 of the suspicion. It's been a while since I've played it, but it's like the negative things.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
and it's just kind of based on luck. You could just draw 0, and then the next person get 2. Uh, Whereas now I think you're going to have your own deck so that each deck is exactly the same, but I'm guessing that'd be the order they'd come out is different. But you then know, like, oh, I've got so many twos in here, so if that comes out, well, I know I'm safe, or I mean, I'm safer. I'm only going to get ones or zeros at that point. Whereas if you start getting, the 0, 0, 1, it's like, well, now I know it's going to be a lot riskier because these are going to be twos coming up. So it's an interesting thing. I haven't played Paladins enough to know if I've ever felt like, that's just wild swings of
Yeah.
negative
I guess
potential,
yeah.
but
Was there any uniqueness to each character in that way, or not?
uniqueness to the
Like,
character.
was there any? There wasn't any variance for each deck. It is completely identical.
It sounds like these ones, the suspicion deck. I
Yeah.
think that's going to be. It sounds
Okay.
like it's going to be exactly the same, but maybe they might have slightly unique. I'm not 100% sure, but it sounded like they were all going to be the same. Could be wrong on that. And then they're going to also be doing some of the promo cards from the North Sea and the West Kingdom for people that maybe have just recently found Garphill Games. So you'll have a chance to go back and get some of those old promos. So that'll be a nice way to get those. I'm guessing I haven't gotten many of the North Sea ones because I think they kind of were done with the North Sea by the time I became the biggest Garfield fan ever. And then, last but not least, on here, as you can kind of see to the left side of that, they are making their own playing deck with two different options of a card back. You can go join their Discord channel uh, to see what was voted on. I think it was two options that had I don't know. They started with I don't know how many, and then narrowed them down to two based on voting. And yeah, each suit is going to be represented by the different set trilogies. So I find that pretty cool, and the
Yeah, it
fact
is.
that we're going to get a little peek at that those East games, and that's already got me really excited. That card right there. I don't know what that's going to be, but it's got me excited.
It's got green in it. Oh my goodness, this is groundbreaking.
And it sounds like this will be November 19th is when this is going to launch, and a 9-day project. And unlike all other projects that I know of that Garphill has done, this one is going to have a late pledge. So when I spoke earlier that they don't have late pledges, I knew I was going to have to correct myself because they're doing a late pledge on that one
Yeah.
because it's a little bit different, I guess, where it's just kind of cards mainly, promo stuff, and
Yeah.
must be a little bit easier to handle than going back and making more games. I'm not sure, but it's probably easier to do it for this stuff than like the games they know they're probably going to sell or create another however many thousands of copies either way. Whereas this stuff, it's like, well, we didn't sell out of 4,000 of the Rune Saga. If only 500 people want it, we're probably not going to print another 3,500 with it. So, I'm guessing they're going to be a little more exact on some of this stuff that it's like, it probably won't sell much outside of this kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah, so I guess I was just jotting it down as you're going through my excitement in order, I would say from least to most. I'd say last would be the playmat, just because we do not go for playmats, but that is a beautiful board. If you're going to get a playmat of anything, that is one of the best boards to get it for. Then I'd say the promos. I don't know, promos just a lot of times they don't even do anything that interesting. It's just like I want something like really powerful or really special, but that'd be a little game breaking if they made every promo like that. So it's not that interesting to me unless it's like a specific character I want. And I'd say the Paladins deck there, if there was some variability, obviously that could really mess with the game. Be like a variable. When I heard like suspicion decks, I'm like, oh, is that going to be variable for each player? I thought that would be cool, but it's not. I like that it balances it, but at the same time, it's much less interesting to me. And I would say the Raiders solo mode. I don't play many Garfield games solo, but that is one of my favorites, and I would be decently interested in it. And then the top two, which are actually like pretty interested, I'd have to go with the cards, and then the Rune Saga, just because I have no experience with the Rune Saga, but it sounds awesome. And obviously, I love playing cards. I collect them, so that's right up my alley.
Yeah, I think those are probably my top two as well. Uh, and the rest of it, I'm mildly interested in outside of I think the playmat just unfortunately for us, we don't get many playmats. We don't have a great storage solution for them, but it is a great board, so that would be a very beautiful playmat there.
Yes.
Um, and then the rest of what I have written down, I think it's just kind of random stuff here. So it sounds like the first quarter of 2025, they're thinking the end of January, maybe into February, is when they're going to do their South Tigris expansions, the Kickstarter for that. So if you've been waiting for the expansion stuff and the Moon Saga, was that? I can't remember if that's what. No. Ink Saga, Moon Saga, whatever they ended up calling it, I don't remember. Uh, you'll have to wait until early next year. And then I think Assyria, April is their plan was. And they may have more later in the year, it sounded like, because they had 3 ancient games in development, 2 other games that they didn't really say what those are exactly. And then obviously they've got the East trilogy to work on. So I'm guessing we'll see at least one project at the end of the year. However many games that might be, who knows? They did launch 2 at the end of this year, so with the Skara Bray and
Yeah.
the Anarchy. So wouldn't be surprised to see possibly another, set of 2 next year. And then let's see here. Oh yeah, and then going on to the expansions, you can go on their Discord. I think they have options to be able to try those out and play them. No expansions for any of the ancient games. He kind of reassured people of that. I think they'd already mentioned that in the past, but uh, they don't plan on doing expansions for that. That's why the boxes are their old classic, smaller square size. And what else did he say? He also confirms that when he is 70 or 80 years old, they will have the 75th ancient game, assuming we continue to buy them. So he said he needs me specifically to continue to stay interested in all of their games so that he can keep going and keep living the dream. I think he was speaking to me directly when he was saying that. And I'm very excited about that 75th ancient game. I will be backer number one when that time comes.
You got some work to do.
But yeah, I think that was kind of everything I went over, right, Pepper?
That is everything I had.
That sounds good. So I am very excited. Let us know in the comments below what you're most excited about with this one. Or if you think this is the end of Garphill Games, you're done with them. We'd love to know. I'm not done with them, but we hope to see you on the next one that they have, so subscribe. But otherwise, as always, don't forget to keep on nibbling on our contents.